So it has already been 2 weeks ever since the release of Deadpool and Wolverine by both Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company, and already it has garnered roughly $890 million plus worldwide at the box office, inching closer to the $1 billion mark, which by the way is massive for Marvel Studios, and it's also massive for those out there like Ryan Reynolds, Shawn, Levy, the director, and Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the writers of the film. By the way, all four of which took a massive stand against the Walt Disney Company and said, it's our way or the highway, and that's exactly why you got an entertaining product by, of course, Marvel this time around in 2024. However, there's been a lot of drama happening behind the scenes between Ryan Reynolds, Tatiana Maslany, and as well as Brie Larson. There's been a lot of different scenarios happening back and forth, not just for the current status of Deadpool and Wolverine, but what looms for the quote-unquote extended edition. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You could also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So there's no doubt about it that this movie is right up there with, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. It's in that overall realm of success points for the Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company and their overall, output when it comes to Marvel films. So when you look at everything related to this movie in particular, we know that Ryan Reynolds worked very hard on this thing. He stood up for the fans, and there's been a lot of issues happening between himself and Brie Larson. Let's get into this, shall we? Now, specifically, we already know that there's been a lot of alterations made to Deadpool and Wolverine, to say the least. Originally, this movie was inching closer to the 3-hour mark. That got shaved down drastically. That's why Disney is aiming to create this extended edition with literally close to 30 minutes worth of deleted scenes. However, on top of everything here, with Deadpool and Wolverine's box office already at $890+ million worldwide and inching closer to $1 billion, one major development now has more to do with the drama happening between both Ryan Reynolds and actress Brie Larson regarding Deadpool and Wolverine in the midst of the ongoing shakeup between the Walt Disney Company and Marvel Studios. It turns out Brie Larson had an all-out heated argument behind the scenes against Ryan Reynolds after he deleted and cancelled what turned out to be a third scene for Captain Marvel that was supposed to be in the third act of the film and toward the ending of the movie. Unlike the two other scenes that we talked about a couple of days ago that Larson had filmed for Deadpool and Wolverine that were axed and no longer coming to the extended edition of the film, already Larson is reportedly preparing to take some form of legal action against Ryan after he decided to convince Disney to cancel a whopping 4-minute scene for Brie Larson in the film. The scene consisted of a moment between Deadpool, Captain Marvel, and She-Hulk, portrayed by Tatiana Maslany, that was described to be the final scene for both She-Hulk and Captain Marvel, just before the main ending of the film, where Deadpool is getting taught a lesson about cursing too much and having a bad mouth by Carol Danvers, where she blames him as a toxic male. The scene also involves She-Hulk providing Deadpool a lesson about how to not be a toxic male while breaking the fourth wall. This is where Deadpool then actually questions if Captain Marvel can break the fourth wall too, where Captain Marvel observes Deadpool with confusion, and continues to go on a rant about how bad-mouthed he is with his curse words. The main reasoning why this scene was axed by Ryan Reynolds was he took the reception from test screeners that absolutely despised the scene very seriously. The Walt Disney Company executives attempted to keep the scene at all costs intact for not just a theatrical version, but also for a planned extended edition of the film that is currently in the works, which is, by the way, now, of course, moving forward, but will not actually include any Brie Larson or any Tatiana Maslany scenes for the characters of She-Hulk and Captain Marvel. Now, Brie Larson reportedly had many outbursts with Ryan Reynolds, and the drama was so severe it rattled throughout all of Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company based on what was going on with the post-production phase of the film. Hey guys, let me just say one thing about this before we move on. Now, we know that there's been a lot of issues with the Walt Disney Company. I mean, Lucasfilm is by far the worst division of all when you look at the Walt Disney Company. There's no doubt about that as well. But when you look at Marvel Studios, they had a very tough road in 2023, and quite frankly, a very tough road the past couple of years. I think everything after Endgame and No Way Home, it's been nothing but downhill disasters. But when you look at a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, right? This is the type of content that you have to put out consistently for the next couple of years, I would say around 3 years at a minimum, to truly convince the fans that Marvel is back on track, that it is going to continue to do projects like this. Now, this is exactly why, by the way, Ryan Reynolds is also taking a stand against the Walt Disney Company in general to reverse the overall status of the MCU, to really kind of depart from their usage of DEI, their agenda-driven strategy, their overall ideology. Ryan wants to actually throw that into the garbage and move on from all of it. This way he can embrace Phase 6 and Phase 7 and beyond. He wants to stick around for as long as he can, not just as playing the character of Deadpool, but also as a creator, whether it's a co-writer or as a director, doesn't matter. He wants to stick around in the MCU one way or the other, as well as Shawn Levy. That's why he was actually offered an Avengers film. We'll talk more about that as well. Now, on top of that, alright, on top of this, the scenes were also subpar and bad performance-wise that now both Disney and Marvel agree it is the best option to refrain from ever releasing the third scene featuring Captain Marvel and She-Hulk together on scene poking fun at Deadpool. Larson's arguments with Reynolds were said to be very heated in nature. Now, to not just, focus on this, Brie Larson is already demanding, of course, that everything by Disney should be unveiled via social media, that they at the very least should release these scenes on social media via Marvel Studios. The scenes were, of course, consistent of 3 scenes featuring Captain Marvel, one of which, like we just talked about, actually involved Captain Marvel and She-Hulk side by side, mocking Deadpool about how much curse words he uses as a character. So it goes to show you that Disney's usage of comedy sometimes, many times, more often than not, is very out of place. I think this is exactly why it doesn't fit Star Wars very well, and in many cases, as of late, some Marvel projects have failed to do so. But when you have a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, you have to use the comedy correctly, you have to use the overall execution of a scene perfectly as well. You can't have something that's, put into the equation in a very, unnatural way where you have creators that really don't have full control. So that's why Ryan wanted to do things his way and really convince the Disney heads to cave and to do away with all these Brie Larson scenes, not just theatrically in theaters, of course, but also the extended edition. We'll talk more about that as well. So I think that's exactly why the extended edition is going to be a hot seller for Deadpool and Wolverine, because not only will it have proper deleted scenes, but it's doing away with unwanted deleted scenes that would take up time for others that we all want. We know that there's more Henry Cavill footage that they're actually trying to throw into this so-called extended edition of the film. We'll talk more about that as well. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany. Everything related to these two is just nothing but complete, nonsense. If you're looking at a Deadpool and Wolverine film, they don't belong in there, they don't fit the story, they don't fit the overall product, and I would like to hear what you all have to say about that. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.